What is good, people? We are back with another episode of Real Talk with Marcus McCoy. Of course, I'm your host, Marcus McCoy. I'm excited to be back. Last month we had some unforeseen issues, but guess what? We are back live, ready to do it like we never left. Today we're going to be talking about an initiative which is known as Man Cave. It's going to be a great conversation. We're going to probably touch some hearts and minds today. Hopefully that does happen. But without any further ado, I would like to introduce our guest, Mr. Ronsoni Long. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you, Marcus, for having me.
Absolutely. Tell the people listening or the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a father. I am a husband. I'm also a minister. I'm also a pastor of my own local ministry here in El Paso, Texas. And also, I'm a veteran, retired veteran in El Paso. Served for 26 years, 3 years Army Reserve, 23 years active duty.
Okay, I definitely gotta say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Can you tell the people listening what is Man Cave? What does it stand for? I know it's an acronym.
Yeah.
And just tell them what the initiative is about.
Yeah. Well, Man Cave is the experience that we create as men when we come together. Okay. The cave is an acronym or acrostic. It stands for connecting, adding value, and encouraging men. So every time that we need to come together as men, and I feel like we don't come together enough.
Absolutely.
When we come together, it was just in my heart that, number one, we need to have organic, authentic connection. That's fine if we can sit down and watch the Dallas Cowboys whoop up on the Patriots, but after the game is over,
wait a minute. You know I'm a Patriot fan too.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. Okay, my bad. Go ahead. Wait a minute.
After the game is over, what type of connection do we have? Is it a trusted connection? Is it an organic connection? Also, when we connect, am I adding value to you? Are you adding value to me? I feel like one of the timeless principles is brothers sharpening each other, and brothers coming together in unity. And when we leave, am I encouraged? I want to encourage you because I feel like men are not encouraged enough. I don't feel like you can ever encourage a man enough. I say because it's a lot of men that are actually doing a lot of things. They're actually being good fathers. They're being good parents. But you don't see a lot of that in society. You're not going to see it on the news. You're not going to see the men that are paying their child support. You're not going to see the men that are holding it down in the churches and the pulpits that are doing right. Most of the news and the society kind of talk about some of the negative stuff or things that might have went left and went wrong. But I really feel like we need to connect as men. We need to add value to each other. We need to encourage each other. We can never do that enough.
So why do you? All right, you say we need to connect. We need to add value to each other, right?
Yes.
Why do you think there's this sense of? I'm guessing basically the polar opposite of that when it comes to some, I would say male friendships, right? Whereas males, as men, we don't necessarily encourage each other or want to see each other do well or push each other forward. Like, why do you think that is an issue?
Well, I think it's an issue on why we don't want to push each other forward, because if I feel like if I encourage you, that takes something from me, then I'm not going to encourage you.
Mm-hmm.
I have to understand, like, when I encourage you, I'm actually blessing myself and helping myself.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like we're in this manhood, quote unquote, thing together. Mm-hmm. We have some of the same struggles. We just don't talk about it. We're actually, as men, we think some of the same things. We just don't talk about it.
Right.
And so if we feel like, what, I can do it by myself, I don't need nobody's help. And then when some brother comes and might say, hey man, can I help with that? Oh no, I got it. Because as a man, I'm gonna say, me personally, I do have my pride. Mm-hmm. My wife would say, hey, can I help you with that? I'm like, oh, I'm good, I got it. And so we have to get out of that stigma and thinking that, what, even though I'm strong in the area, that doesn't mean I can't take help in that area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you use the word pride. I know Now, there's one Bible verse that pride comes before the fall.
Oh yes.
And people who do know me, probably somebody that's watching know, I'm a very prideful guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is a downfall.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna be transparent with you. I'm very prideful. Yeah. I am. I'm gonna share with you a little something. I got a 12-year-old son. And so my wife and I, we constantly try to teach him about integrity. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, integrity is you doing the right thing when no one's looking. And so I was at my daughter's elementary school, and he was in the car with me while I was getting ready to go in and walk outside the car and go walk and go get her from her teacher and bring her back to the car. And so the traffic around the school has started to get congested. And most of the time I just kind of jaywalk. I don't use a crosswalk. I don't. And so the day that the police officer was there to regulate the traffic, I used a crosswalk. Mm-hmm. And so my son noticed that. And so he asked me, he said, "Hey, Dad, are you just jaywalking because the cop is not there?" And I said, oh, okay, son, I understand what you're saying. He said, yeah, because you told me that integrity is doing the right thing when no one is looking.
That's crazy.
And so all I could do is say, you know what, son, I need to work on that. I do need to work on that, And I taught him this. Mm-hmm. I taught him this, about integrity. And as my son, he's a boy. But see, he focused on an area that I need to work on. And I had to swallow my pride to listen to him, because was he right? Yes, he was right.
Absolutely.
He was right. I need to be doing the right thing when nobody's looking, just like how I communicate things.
Yeah. You know what that also is? That's also just a reminder, and this goes for male or female, but I mean, obviously we're talking about men today, we're focused on that, is that as a man, you are modeling to your children, whether you have girls or boys, you're still modeling. I've always said that for your daughters, you should be the first male she falls in love with, because you are modeling to her what type of man she probably will eventually grow up to either be attracted to, or yes. There's all kind of connotations that put those things together. For young males, we set the standard and the tone for what our sons are gonna think is right or wrong or indifferent as men. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a huge responsibility. Yes. And I feel like sometimes we might slack on that, for lack of better terms. Yes. And I don't think a lot of times it's intentional. I think it's just, again, like you said, you probably consciously weren't paying attention that your son was paying attention, that you did the exact opposite of what you had told him not to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the reverse factor. But here's another question. Why do you think men, now we finna dive in.
Okay, all right, let's go.
Why do you think men have a problem expressing their feelings? You share your thoughts, and then I'm gonna give my thoughts on it.
Okay, all right, let's go in. All right, so in my personal opinion, I'm gonna speak from my truth. I'm gonna speak personally. The reason why I had a problem with expressing my feelings is because I didn't understand how important my feelings were. I would get angry and hold it in, and I really didn't know how to express it. Mm-hmm. A timeless principle that I live by is to be slow to anger. The Bible talks about anger rests in the bosom of fools, And so I knew for a fact that anger wasn't anything wrong with being angry, but I didn't know how to express my anger. I didn't know what to do with the thoughts I was having. I wanted to hit, or I wanted to grab. I wanted to, do things that were not going to be positive and possibly put me in jail. Mm-hmm. Because I'm mad at this person or this individual or another man, or I'm having conflict in my relationship with my wife. And so I suppressed something I was not familiar with, and that's properly expressing negative emotions in a positive way. And like I said, anger necessarily don't have to be negative, mm-hmm. but growing up, all I've seen was anger as a negative emotion. That's it. And so some of it was I lacked education, I lacked example, and I lacked practical application on how to manage my emotions, so that way I can still express what I was feeling, but I did not have destructive habits or destructive actions.
Oh man, that's deep. That's deep. So for me, it's a very layered type of answer, but I mean, I'm gonna cut right to the chase. I think there's the aspect of being vulnerable, which I know I don't like, and I know you don't like it because we talked about it.
Yeah.
There's also the element of being judged, right? I want to be able to go to a space and express my feelings, and I want to just be. Sometimes you just need somebody to be a sounding board or a listening ear, right?
Yeah.
But so many times you have that sounding board, what you think is a sounding board, and when you pour your heart out, you get that information. Some kind of way it tends sometimes to backfire on you, right? And now you develop trust issues, right?
Yes.
What was once my friend or somebody who I thought was in my circle, who I could share all this information with, who knows me, my ups, my downs, my fears, my insecurities, and I make no mistake about it. We all as men have those things. We have fears, we have insecurities.
Yes.
We have the little devil that creeps up in your mind and tells you, hey, you can't do this, or you won't be able to accomplish that. And so that's part of it for me. But then I think the other side of it, you kind of touched on it, is like when you grow up in an environment where people are always telling you, oh, that doesn't hurt, even though the skin don't came off your leg, that clearly hurts. Look, man, I'm bleeding. I fell off my bike, my knee skinned up. That hurts, right? But when you grow up in an environment where they're constantly telling you that doesn't hurt, or oh, it's not that serious, you don't need to cry about that, right? Which is a whole nother psychological and emotional factor that we probably don't think about, is how a person's childhood plays in how they're going to be an adult. Because there's a bunch of things I could tell you firsthand from my childhood that has played. It either put catapult me in the right direction or the wrong direction as far as being an adult. Because a lot of things for children, it's kind of like you said, are learned behaviors, right?
Yes.
You see it, so therefore in your mind, sometimes you equate the sin to that is what's right and that is what you're supposed to be doing, or that is acceptable, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about a man's childhood playing a part in how he is an adult?
I'm going to speak from my experience, my lived experience, what I went through. I dealt with a lot of childhood trauma growing up. In my family, my parents were divorced. They had a lot of issues, that sometimes would actually be physical, but they were divorced for the majority of my life, and seeing what played out because of their conflict, that was trauma. And I realized through actually some self-awareness and trying to understand the importance of mental health. Like, some people put trauma in a category. So we sometimes, I even experienced this. I felt like what I went through as a child was small T trauma, and what I went through in the Army was big T trauma. And we kind of categorize it. Oh, well, I think sometimes people might assume that, oh, well, that happened back when you was a child and you kind of just forget about it. No, it's still trauma.
Yeah, trauma is trauma.
But because, the big T trauma, the PTSD, oh, that's big T. Something that a child might experience, with their parents, or unfortunately, somebody might have went through something very traumatic, very violating. We say, oh, well, that happened when you was a child. That's small T trauma. No, it's just all trauma.
Yeah, it's trauma.
Trauma is trauma.
Yeah.
We have to take that stigma off of it. And I realized that some of the things that I experienced as a child played out in my marriage. Some of the things on how my wife and I were trying to figure out how to discipline our children. I had certain reservations because I'm like, okay, I went through this as a child. I don't want my kids going through that. And even if I know for a fact I wasn't going to go overboard, if I felt like my parents might have been overboard with me, now I've actually put like this stigma on this certain thing when it comes to trying to train my children up. And where did it come from? It came from the experience that I had with my parents, and now it's carrying over into my parenting. And so that's just what I experienced as far as trauma, childhood trauma, and it does affect your life. It does affect. It's not just a small T. It's just trauma. And I got the help I needed through certain mental health resources. And I just had to not be in denial that the things that I saw as a child, they still were impacting me.
Yeah.
They still work.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely want to say, hey, thank you to the people out here watching. Man, this is, again, is much needed. We mentioned the childhood trauma. Now, so me and Ron, we actually do some community work for organization. I want to mention the organization, privacy issues, things of that nature. We work with an organization, and get to have some candid conversation with some men. And what we find is a lot of them also are the childhood trauma that we're talking about. They have this exact same type of childhood trauma, that has played a major role in how they become as adults, whether that's drug addiction or domestic violence or even PTSD. He mentioned PTSD.
Yes.
It's no secret that a lot of our fellow or current soldiers and current now veterans, I mean, they are suffering from PTSD.
Yes.
But a lot of them, for some reason, they just don't want to go get help. There's a big thing sometimes about us as males. We kind of we don't necessarily attack the problem head on when we know, because you can have signs, right? Like I knew I had PTSD in 2005, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the signs, I'm just gonna suck that up. What we say in the Army, suck it up and drive on, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna drink some water, and you know what I'm saying? Drink, those, and and what I'm saying is, it's that type of thinking that will always have us behind the power curve when it comes to our mental health and our emotions, our well-being. There's so much emphasis about your physical health and eating the right food and being on the right diet, but I don't think we pay attention as equally as much into our mental health, because you could be in great physical shape, right?
Oh yes.
And have a nervous breakdown, or go, for lack of better terms, not calling anybody crazy, or go crazy. And I just feel like we don't do a good job of putting that. Be honest, a lot of times we just don't do a good job of putting ourselves at the forefront. And it kind of goes back to this too. As a man, we have all these. To me, I feel like we have all these added expectations and pressures that come along with being a male, that sometimes people just forget that we are just a human being, just like everybody else.
Exactly.
We are not superheroes, right?
Not.
And it is not meant for us to do everything. So how do you feel about the thought of males having added pressure or expectations just because we are males?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm going to share personally, one of the things I tell my wife, I tell her this. I said, I am Clark Kent. I am not Superman.
You say I'm regular.
I am Clark Kent. There are opportunities for me to be phenomenal, to be amazing, to be super. But on a daily basis, I am Clark Kent. You know, it's that super.
Y'all see we both got these glasses on too, right? Clark Kent.
Clark Kent. I said, you see, so even though Lois Lane loves Superman, but Superman don't do no dishes. He don't wash no laundry. Superman don't pick up no kids from no school.
He can hit it with a laser vision and draw off the dishes though. He'll probably burn a hole.
I am Clark Kent. That means that I need other brothers. I need brothers to connect with. I need brothers that add value to me. I need to be sharpened, not just sometimes, all the time.
Absolutely.
I need for you to encourage me and say, you know what, Ron? Hey, man, I appreciate you. That goes a long way, because a lot of men may not even hear that. They may not hear it in their marriage. They may not hear it on their job. They may not hear it from their family. Mm-hmm. So what happens? Well, a lot of times is that when we have that pressure, it comes on us and trying to fulfill all these different roles and responsibilities and wear these hats, men will suffer in silence and seclusion.
Oh, that's deep.
We will suffer in silence and seclusion willingly, and we will entertain and maintain destructive thoughts and actions, and will not try to get any help.
That's deep.
We will not. We said we will hold on to our pride. And I'm talking about me, not talking about nobody else. I'm talking about me. I will suffer. I have suffered in silence and seclusion. Hold on to my pride, having destructive thoughts, having destructive actions play out in me trying to cope with some of the things I was struggling with. and I was fine with it. I was fine with it.
That's deep. Men out there, look, again, this conversation is for us. And the same thing he's saying about suffering in silence, man, look, the world could be falling, it could be what's the Trans Mountain could fall on top of me, could be falling on top of me right now. And I would act if nothing was going on.
Yes.
We gotta, I don't know what the be all end all answer to that is, but we gotta figure out a way to get past that where we actually go and get, the help that we need. I also want to make sure, I give a couple of announcements. For those those of you who this might be your first time watching the podcast, I definitely appreciate you for coming on. I could be found on YouTube if you just type in marcusmccoy.com. It'll bring up a YouTube link. If you want to find me on Facebook, you can type in Real Talk with Marcus McCoy. It will also pop up. And on Instagram, I could be found using @Real Marcus McCoy. I want to kind of shift the page for a second because again, there's some specific things, some messages I want to get out. Because a great part of this is I get to, talk about events that are going on in the community. Maybe you might be new to El Paso, or I don't know. Maybe you are new to El Paso and you just don't know what's going on. So recently, I did an interview with c.a.v.e. It was actually last week, and I want to say the acronym was K-TIP, but I just spelled it out, c.a.v.e. And we talked about an upcoming journalism camp that's going to be at the McCall Center. So for those who are listening, the journalism camp is going to start next week. It's from from Monday, next Monday to Friday, the 9th to October 9th to the 13th. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The registration for the kids that wanted to sign up to be a part of the journalism camp, and it's all high school students, by the way, is already closed. We've partnered with the El Paso Museum of History, so I definitely want to give them a shout out because they came up with collaboration. Ms. Nora Rose from the El Paso Museum of History. Also want to give out June Strait, who works as a teacher at Parkland High School. She's going to be the instructor for the camp. I want to give her a shout out. And I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Kate Gannon, who is a professor. She teaches journalism at the University of Texas El Paso. She's been a major player and influence, and it's all come together. I want to thank them. And I definitely got to thank our sponsor at the McCall Center for this event, which is Chase Bank. Chase, I appreciate y'all for bringing in that money, baby. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all. No, I'm just kidding. But also another event coming up. I should have taken it just jamming in your face, right? Well, look, I'm gonna put it right there, and then I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna put it right there, and I'm gonna bring it back. So on November 18th, at Tuscany Halls, which is located at 8600 Gateway Boulevard East, El Paso, Texas, 79907. The Sigma-Tau chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated will be celebrating 112 years of friendship, fellowship, and service. And we invite you all, city, to come out and be a part of our Founders Banquet. If you go online on Eventbrite, all you have to actually do is just type in Founders Banquet and then use the location of El Paso, and it will pop right up. Definitely want you guys to come out. A portion of the proceeds goes to our social action programs, scholarships, and things of that nature. So when we get together, we have events. I want you to know that we do it with a purpose in mind, and the purpose is the community. So I just wanted to make sure I got that out there for those who may not know what's going on in the city. Now I digress. We are back. Oh my goodness. All right, so me and you, if you don't know, Ron is my guy. Like, this is my guy. He has been ever since I met him, it's just been a blessing. And I honestly feel like we are both better individuals just from knowing each other. Yes. He mentioned the iron sharpens iron. Ron is probably one of the most positive men I have ever met in my life. Every time I get to see Ron, I automatically get excited because I know if I'm down, Ron's gonna bring me up. Ron's not gonna let me stay in that place being down, which goes back to the friendship and just being inviting and trying to lift each other up. Yeah. So we constantly talk about the role, or not the role. Yeah, we constantly talk about the role of what it means to be a man. It's constantly being changed, right?
Yes.
Now, I was waiting to get to this question too. So we constantly talk about the role of what it means to be a man being changed, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you asked this question, Marcus, because I think we definitely need to have a good discussion. Number one, okay, when we're talking about, there's a difference between male and man.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about male, okay, you're talking about just the natural aspect of man. That's it. When you talk about male, excuse me, when you talk about man, now you're talking about the spirit, the spirit of a man. Now, you and I, we didn't pick, what type of body that we came into on this earth. We didn't have no choice in that. I came into a male body, and I feel like God gets the most glory out of me being in a male body. That's the natural aspect, of what I deal with. Okay, I didn't have no choice. I'm a male. I came into a male body.
Right.
Now, but being a man though, being a man, manhood, and I remember when I really had a heart to do something greater. That's where the whole inspiration of man came. Was based from a biblical story of King David. Actually, he was in a cave. It's called the Cave of Adullam. Many of these men who were downhearted or discouraged came to David in this cave, and there's something that happened in that cave that transformed their life. I believe it was that he connected with the men, he added value to them, and he encouraged them. If you look in the Bible later, these same men who came with issues and problems and being discouraged, these men were known in the Bible. It says these men were transformed into mighty men of valor after they connected with David, after David added value to them, and after David encouraged them. And they followed him and they were committed to him from that point on. It was something that happened in that space where it was just those men. Mm-hmm. It's something that transformed their very thinking, their very actions, transformed their life. And so that's the type of experience that Man Cave tries to create. I said, you may not get that experience, with other brothers and other organizations, but that's the type of experience that we can create if we focus on organic connection. I feel manhood is a journey. It's never ending. It's not just a moment. It's a journey. It's a journey of discovery. It's certain things you're going to discover about yourself and other men as you try to go ahead and achieve what we call quote unquote manhood. Also, it's a journey of uncovering. I realized that I had some childhood trauma that had not been dealt with. And certain things that are uncovered when we're going through our journey of manhood, sometimes we want to leave covered. That's why I tell you about the suffering in silence and seclusion, and also having destructive thoughts and actions, and you're fine with that. Because certain things we don't want to cover because they bring back, bad memories.
Memories.
I do not want to remember some of the bad stuff that happened when I was growing up, that happened in my family dynamic and with my parents. However, that is my story. That's my truth. That's what I went through. I'm better for it now that I know how to deal with it, but I still need to know how to cope with it when sometimes it comes back up in a negative way.
Absolutely.
And also the last aspect of the journey of manhood is becoming. We're always becoming. It's a never-ending cycle. Hopefully we're trying to be better. Hopefully we're trying to seek after refinement, or hopefully we're trying to not be comfortable. It's one quote, it's a football quote that I like, that I heard and I use all the time. I said, you're not going to get in the end zone until you get out of the comfort zone. Ooh. You have to think of that when it comes to your you being a man. God is more invested in the development of your character as a man than he is with you being comfortable as a man. And so some of the things that we go through, some of the things we experience, ask yourself, are these things allowing me to be comfortable? That might need to be something that you need to examine and kind of move away from. Now, it's not natural for us to move away from comfort and convenience because we love comfort and convenience.
Absolutely.
We pay for it.
Yeah.
We want it. We got to have it. The things that develop character are usually not comfortable and convenient.
Absolutely.
And the things that develop us as men and grow us as men are usually not comfortable and convenient either.
Oh, man, look, that's deep. Hey, can we bring? I just want to see what comments we got. I want to see who we got following us. Okay, Jamal Red, positive mindset. Yeah, okay, and it's contagious. Okay, all right. What else we got? Oh, hey, look, Charles said,
Hey,
what's up to
what's
you?
up, Charlie? How you doing?
Okay, all right, Quincy Rice, what's going on, brother? Out there from St. Louis. So I want to ask this question, and maybe somebody will answer it in the chat, maybe they won't. But like, what do you, as men, what do you think is probably the most challenging part of being a man? If we get to it, if you put it in, that's great. But if not, that's also cool. So I guess I will lead. Oh well, actually no. I want to answer the question I asked you first because I got to make sure I say this.
Yes.
Talk about the what it means to be a man, constantly changing. Whew, this is a deep one. I think it's all about perspective, and it depends on what perspective you come from.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. My parents are older. In the time frame they grew up in, the man was the head of the household. He was a provider.
Yeah.
He was a protector.
Yes.
He was all those things, right? Now, if you move forward into this day and age, there's still a lot of those principles and attributes and characteristics are there. However, as women from a society standpoint became more what was quote unquote independent or what somebody would think of to be independent, right? And a lot of, and again, it depends on what type of relationship you're into. So you got to follow me where I'm going. If you date somebody who's a strong, assertive woman, no matter the nationality or ethnic background, anything like that, right? If she is in a role or she has been in a place where she's always been the leader and she does not know how to be a companion or a partner, then sometimes the masculinity of a male in a relationship might or can be diminished.
Yeah.
Because again, it's about it's about how people mix, right? Then the other side of it is you have people, again, like we talked about redefining the role. So there are some people that will probably say if a man does not make as much or as more than a woman makes in a relationship, he's not a man. Now I've heard this several times, right? Which I think is crazy, right? Right. But there are people out there that believe that.
Yes.
There's some people believe that, hey man, that stay-at-home dads who take care of their kids all the time are not quote unquote men.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because if you think about it, that is one of the manliest things a person can do is actually be a real father to their children.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have, obviously we have a lot of dads, right, instead of fathers, and it depends on what your classification is, right? So I'm a father. You know what I'm saying? My son calls me dad because it's like a shortcut for saying father, but he knows at the end of the day I'm his father, and he knows what all my children know what it means to me to be their father.
Yeah.
And so, when you think about stuff like that, it's just kind of it's kind of mind-boggling because it's like every couple years or every 5-6 years, maybe every couple decades, we're constantly allowing people to change what it means to be a man to us. You embrace. You said that you used the word journey, which I thought was really deep, right? This whole life in general, whether you classify it as being a man or whatever, it's all a journey, right?
Yes.
I'm not the same person this week that I was last week. I'm not the same person last week that I was 5 years ago.
Yes.
Right. And so sometimes people they don't see evolution because they see you for what they saw you as 20 years ago. And because they haven't been around for that process of maturing, they want to keep you right there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, look, you had 5-6 careers. You don't want an Emmy. You don't want a Tony Award. You wrote 4 or 5 books. Yeah, it's and I think that's another part of I would say the maybe like the growth that we need to have like as males is that people should never ever be the same along this journey. You should have some of the same, the good principles and the good characteristics. Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully you carry them throughout your whole adult life, right? But there has to be some change. You mentioned being people wanting comfort, right? And being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Some of the greatest lessons I have learned in this life were situations that I did not want to be in that made me uncomfortable. right?
Yeah.
Because man, it's easy if if I'm in a it's just like taking a test, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't prep for it, you're probably gonna fail unless you just got a great memory, right? But it's those long nights when you sitting in there looking crazy and you're sleepy. And the journey is the same way.
Yes.
You have to embrace some levels of discomfort in order to actually evolve. And again, I wouldn't even say evolve because evolution is constant, right? So I don't feel like there's an end stage of evolution.
Yeah.
The end stage is when you die, and then there's no more evolution because then you're gonna be gone, right? And I'm not wishing death on anybody, for those who watch it, but I'm just using an example.
Yeah.
Is that we're constantly evolving. There's never gonna be like this fine, polished, absolute perfect version of you or me.
Yeah.
It does not exist.
Yeah.
So I just, want people to, kind of think about that as we're having this conversation. Is that we're constantly evolving, constantly growing. I mean, if you take my friends from high school, I'm sure they would say that dude is nothing like he was in high school, right?
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I was a really quiet guy.
Me too, actually.
Super quiet.
Me too. I was really quiet.
So when people meet me, this version of me, the me now, I said the me now. I'm already speaking Ebonics. The me. Hey, trademark that. The me now. Nah, but they meet me now and they just assume I was always outgoing.
Yeah, people can assume that you've always been this.
No,
dapper, eloquent.
Oh my God, appreciate you. Appreciate you.
So they can just kind of assume like, oh well, and that's what as men sometimes we need to express lived experiences and live struggles.
Well, absolutely.
People need to understand, like, like I'm in ministry, but there were certain things that happened that I was like, I don't want to be doing. I'm like, why am I? Because another aspect of what I do with empowering men is I empower men in their relationships. And so I'm a marriage pastor, and I deal with couples, and I try to empower, encourage couples, and equip couples in their relationship. And there were some times when my wife and I would have some challenges. We were still trying to go out there and equip people and empower people. And there were sometimes I'm like, why am I trying to help anybody else? I need to work on myself.
Yeah. Talk to her, Ron. Talk to her, baby.
But this is the thing, though. I know what God gave me to do, and I know what I have the grace for. This right here is a master key. As a man, you need to know what God has graced you to do. Because if I'm sitting there looking at another man and I don't have the grace for that, then I could be putting my time, my energy, my resources into something that God has given me grace to do. And I'll be struggling, not getting the results that I'm looking at and envying and wonder why. How come? Well, I'm better. I might think I have more degrees than him. I'm more intelligent than him. But if he has the grace of God upon his life, his results will always be better, because grace is, guess what? It's a great multiplier. It's a great multiplier. As a man, if you know what you grace to do, you won't be spending your time and your energy and your resources trying to do something else that you think you should be doing. You'll be knowing without a doubt, I said, God graced me for this. And I'm going to stay with this because this is where the grace of God is on my life. Man, and you're gonna bless so many people. You're gonna bless so many people, and you're gonna be like, man, I never knew. If I would have known earlier, then I wouldn't have put my time into this. It's kind of like how some people, they might go to college, but you don't know what you want to major in. And so you get a degree in something that you're really not passionate about because you just want to graduate and just get it done. But then once you get out there in the job market, like, oh man, I realize like I'm working in a job, I'm making the money I want, but I really don't like this career field, or I dread going to work every day. Once you connect with what the grace of God upon your life, then you know what, you feel it and you understand it, and you know for a fact you're walking in divine purpose.
Man, look, hey, oh man, he hit some points right there. So, all right, so look, again, Ron had my look. When I talked to Ron had my mind thinking all kind of stuff. So now when I think it, I have to say it, because if I don't say it, I'll forget it. No, I'm just kidding. So he talked about, God having purpose for your life, right? Yeah, I say this all the time. And you mentioned going to school and picking a degree and then maybe not necessarily, enjoying it.
Yeah.
I actually told this to a guy yesterday. I honestly, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% believe communication is my purpose, and I feel like it's a gift that God gave me.
Yes,
Because
sir.
I don't feel like everybody can go talk to everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's just this. I feel like this podcast is kind of evident that is, God put me in a position and gave me an opportunity to, come out here, every month and have, candid conversation. And what my hope is that when we're having these conversations and, you tune in and you watch it, that you gain something from it, right? We're not subject matter experts, but we are subject matter experts in our own lived experiences.
Yes, we are.
And there's none that look, I don't care how much school you have, there is no substitute for experience. Kind of makes me think about when I was in the military and we would have officers come from West Point, or maybe they graduated from a different college. And meanwhile, you got me. I've been in the United States Army 7-8 years. I've been deployed 3-4 times. And here you are coming in fresh on the job, trying to tell me how to do my job. And I've been here for a minute. It's the same principle. But man, I definitely want to thank you for coming on. We gotta run this back, Ron, several times.
Yes, sir.
Question:
yes, sir.
Can you tell them where they can follow you? Or
Yes, definitely, Marcus. Hey, I said I'm getting ready to have on 11 November a man cave mastermind launch. All right, it's going to be at c.a.v.e. Okay, my ministry is located in El Paso on the northeast side. I said you can go on Facebook at c.a.v.e. Life Center, and you'll see the registration there. You'll see all the information from 11 to 1. We're going to actually have light refreshments. I want all the men that want to connect, add value to other men, and they want to be encouraged or do the encouraging. If you want to make an impact in your family, in the city, in your community, come out and join us. It's going to be a powerful time of connection. We're going to be constantly coming up with strategies on how we can impact men, not just Black men, all men, connecting men together, sharpening, encouraging, and with the spirit of unity. I said, so, hey, those people that are faith, be praying for me. I said, even doing this is getting out of my comfort zone. I can't be worried about what people say. I said, I have to listen and pay attention to what God has put upon my life, and I have to follow that leading and trust God all the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also, Mark, if I could say this Saturday, if you're a man in the local El Paso area, I said we have relationship empowerment at the C.a.v.e. Corn Center. My wife and I are actually be giving a session from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the C.a.v.e. Corn Center on George Dieter. We will be providing breakfast and lunch and childcare. You can go to marriagemanagement.org to sign up, and we would love to have you. If you want to be empowered in your relationship and take your relationship next level, I say come out. We'd love to have you on this coming Saturday.
Oh man, that was like, look, you guys better tap in. You better tap in. So I want to say again, I can't thank you enough for being on here.
Thank you, brother.
It's been great. Yes. But what I want to say is, it's winning season. This is the season where basically, I feel like we're all gonna, be. And there's no such thing as a loser either in my book.
Yeah.
You either learn a lesson, because you learn lessons in winning and losing.
Mm-hmm.
But
yes, sir.
But I say it to say this is for those of you men out there, you might have had a rough year. Who knows? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But if you did, I'm here to tell you it's gonna get better.
It is. It's gonna get better.
Definitely. This is not the end. This is your story. You are the author of your own story, and you get a chance every day that God blesses you to be able to wake up. You get a chance to write and put different pages in there every day. You know what? You might want to tear some pages out, right? But it does not diminish your story. So again, I just encourage you to be encouraged. Keep grinding, keep going. Never let anything stop you. And if something does get in your way, then you got to find another way to navigate around it sometimes.
Yes.
So again, I just invite you guys to connect. Let's stay positive. Let's uplift each other as men. And like he said, it's not about being a Black man, a white man, a Hispanic man, a Korean man. It's men. We just need to do a better job in general of uplifting each other. It's so easy. It takes nothing, no effort to criticize or say something bad about another male. But man, it takes all the energy and the power in the world to uplift them and encourage them. So I just, invite you guys to do it. But until then, this show has been great. I invite you to tune in to the next episode of Real Talk with Marcus McCoy. If you don't know, again, this is your first time, listen to the podcast. I air every first Monday of the month. Until then, until next time on Paso, it's been real.